care. Made them grinders never cease to increase the fees that they charge. A boss is one who takes charge when it comes to success.
On this episode of Get to Know series, I got the chance to talk to Raygee, a member of Filipino rap group in Toronto, Southeast Cartel or SEC. We talk about his life growing up, how SEC was formed in the beginning, and their collaboration with GLOC-9 and many more. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe now and please don't forget to like this video.
What's up, man? It's Raygee of Southeast Cartel, and y'all tuned into the Rolly Show, yo. Don't stop now.
Actually, so yeah, first question, who is Raygee?
Man, Raygee, Raymond Garcia, first and foremost. Just another Filipino kid that grew up outside of Philippines. Parents immigrated here trying to give me and my brother a better life. And at the end of the day, man, it's just having an opportunity to do something more than being back home, you know? Like, we're blessed with a lot of different things here, a lot of different opportunities. And we just gotta be grateful. So if anything, just another regular kid from Philippines, bro. Had the opportunity to come here and then trying to make the boat, you know, trying to reach my dreams, trying to make the most of where we are, man.
How old were you when you got here in Canada?
Six. About 6 years old, yeah.
Okay, so you actually grew up here.
When I was young, I didn't go back home too much, right? Because what's it called? My parents were paying for the plane tickets.
Yeah.
But you know, when I got older, I got a better job. I decided to go back every 2 months. Every 2 years. Yeah. So now it's been for the past 6 years, I've been going back every 2 years.
Okay.
So. Yeah.
So the roots is still there. Do you speak Tagalog, or how well do you know Tagalog?
Like I can speak basic. Like when I go home, I can go and order food, ask directions, all that stuff. But obviously they know I'm not from I don't live in Philippines because you know I got that accent. Right. But I know enough, and then even when I came here, I still have memories of back home. Right. So I can say I'm grateful. I'm blessed enough that when I go home, okay, this is where I used to live. You know, these are my people that my titas, titos, all those people that I still remember. So yeah,
speaking of back home, talk about your childhood, growing up there, or and then coming here in Canada. What was the transition, if you remember?
To be honest, I remember what's it called? It's gonna seem weird, but I remember that we were at our school, elementary, not even elementary, preschool.
Preschool, okay.
Right, I think we were 4 or 5, and my tita, which is my mom's sister, she actually raised us. So when we were that young, we thought she was our mother, right?
Okay.
Because you can't differentiate. You can't tell a kid that's your mom. Your mom's in Hong Kong or Canada, right? So we went and we went to school, and then I remember we were waiting for them to pick us up, and I think my ate came late, really late.
Right.
And me and my brother we're twins, right? So we started crying because you know what I'm saying, they forgot about us.
Yeah.
Right, and we were alone in the playground. I remember that.
Yeah.
And then obviously she came and she picked us up. Apart from that, it's it's very very hazy memories here and there of playing basketball here, you know, hanging out with the neighborhood kids.
Right.
You know, and it's unfortunately I don't remember everything, except when I go home and they're showing us pictures and they're this is you guys here.
Yeah.
This is when you got your birthday here. You know, so I go by those memories.
Right.
But I mean, when you're that young, you don't really know a lot. And then us moving to Canada, it was kind of a very, very shocking experience.
You were young.
Yeah, and the thing was my parents, I think by the age of 1, they sent us to Philippines. So from 1 to 6, me and my brother lived back home, and we didn't even know that we had parents that were in across the country, right? Overseas. And you know, they would come and they would visit us from time to time, but again, you're a kid, so you can't tell the difference. Who are these people, right? Whereas my tita was my mom back then. So finally, at the age of 6, when they're they're moving from Hong Kong to Canada, and they could finally bring us, it was a very weird experience here, because you know, we're living with random people now, right? And not only that, but you're going to a country where you don't know anybody. You know, we have no relatives there or here. I should say, because we're in Canada now. didn't really speak the language, all that stuff. And I remember at that age, like I wanted to go back to Philippines, yo.
Yeah.
You know, because that's where I thought home was, and I didn't know the people that brought us there. So it took us a very long time to get over that transition, man. You know, and even now it's like, I'm sure a lot of kids growing up here that were like separated from their parents, it takes a while to build that relationship back again. You know, because like even if you knew them when you were young and they moved to a different country for 5-10 years, they're different people, right? So when you move with them again, it's like strangers you're trying to learn and to live again.
Right.
So I think that was the challenging part of the first, I'd say, couple of years, just trying to assimilate and get used to everything.
So what got you into music?
I would always say like I got into music since I was a kid. My parents used to tell me a story of when we were living in Hong Kong and we were still babies. The way that I would calm down was if they would play the radio, right? And back in the days they had those hand crank radios. Those were pretty popular. So what ended up happening was ever since we were young, they were always playing music around us. And my mom told me there's one time where the radio actually fell on my head because it was like on top of a shelf, right? And it hit me right in the head, and they thought I was gonna cry, right? And then I was just smiling and like you know, doing whatever. And then when they picked up the radio and they turned it off, that's when I started crying. So they told me they turned it back on, and I was like fine again. So the way I see it is like it's a sign that I enjoyed music when I was young. And I was just being a fan of it, you know. But in terms of being like a creator, creating music, it was in high school. So around my era, man, like here in Toronto, recording back in the days was a lot of equipment. You got to pay a lot for it. Nowadays, it's like if you have $100, $200, you can basically get a decent setup.
Technology caught up.
Yeah. But back in the days, it's like you really needed those tapes and all that. So, you know, it was a big investment. But at that point, the era of like digital music started coming out and digital recording. And at that point, we didn't even have audio interfaces like what we used to connect microphones and stuff. We only had like what's it called, headsets that had microphones in it, or you know, those old school computer mics that you plug in. So that's what we would use, and there was like a whole community built around the online music community. And you know how the recent age there's like SoundCloud?
SoundCloud, yeah.
You know, there's that generation. We were like the generation before that, and we used the website called SoundClick.
That one I didn't know.
Yeah. Which maybe that's where SoundCloud got it. I don't know, but SoundClick, man, like a lot of the old school rappers, yo.
Interesting.
Especially back home, they know of it too, yo. Like a lot of them I knew of or met them through SoundClick. And that was easily 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. So we had that community, and in my high school, there's a certain group of Filipinos that created like a label, right, called Radyo Dak. Right? So shout out to Radyo Dak, yo. And a couple of them were my friends. So I didn't even know that it was possible to make music until I started hearing them putting stuff out. You know, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. So I was talking to one of my close friends now, Ian.
Right?
Okay. Another SEC member, and we actually became friends because he's the one who burnt me GLOC-9's album, right? Burnt me a CD.
Some of you don't even know that.
Yeah. And that's how we actually became friends. Because I don't know if you knew of the website called Asian Avenue. Okay, so before this was even before Friendster, before MySpace. This is like the OG.
2005, 6.
Yeah.
Shit.
And we had something called Asian Avenue. It's like all the Asians would go on it, yo. And one of the dope things about it is you can actually customize your homepage. So you can use like HTML code and stuff. You can add designs. You can add music. And so at one point, the biggest song with Filipinos was like GLOC-9's song called Simpleng Tao.
Yeah.
Right? And the moment you go on like one of these Filipinos pages, yo, it's like it's playing right away. Just auto plays. So that it became really big. And then when I met Ian at was it grade 10 science class or grade 9 science class, we hit it off because we're like, yo, you Filipino? It's like, yeah. Yo, you like GLOC-9? It's like, yeah. And then that's it, yo, we became friends. So shout out to Ian, yo. Shout out to GLOC-9, yo.
Speaking of GLOC-9, who was your musical inspiration, or who you look up to as far as an artist?
When I was young, coming up and making music, it was Tupac and GLOC-9, yo.
Tupac and GLOC-9.
Yeah, because they both have different styles, but in terms of storytelling and the art, yo, I fell into their messages too.
Awesome. GLOC-9 and Tupac.
Yeah.
Two artists that I actually look up to as well. And speaking of rappers, who are your top 5? Or favorite top 5 rappers?
I'd say it's just my own opinion, because everybody has their own top 5. Is it like top 5 any Filipino
not in order.
And
in general, like your favorite?
I'd say GLOC-9 for sure. Tupac for sure.
Tupac.
Right, both of them. And I'd say my next favorite would be Nipsey Hussle.
Nipsey Hussle.
Rest in peace to Nip, yo. But just the work he put out, and not just from the music aspect, like the business mentality.
Right, yeah. Entrepreneur, ownership, basically.
Yeah. And that's 3. And then my other favorite, I guess I got 2 more. Would be Franchise, yo.
Franchise.
Yeah. I always tell people, yo, he's like a local legend, yo, in Toronto, man. If you like lyrical Tagalog hip hop, yo, Franchise is for you. And then the last one, I guess it would have to be probably, I don't know, I'm like unsure. But
pick a random rapper. That's like,
I always end up only doing like top 3.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's fair enough then.
Yeah. So top 4, top 5. My 5th, it's a tie from like 3 or 4 different rappers. Yeah. So I don't want to give one and like feel bad later.
Right. If you're given a chance to collab with an artist, or like let's say your dream collaboration, who would that be? You're gonna have a singer to sing the hook, and another artist to be on the second verse.
I'd definitely pick Nipsey, yo. I was gonna say GLOC-9, but I already got GLOC-9 on the song, with SEC.
Which we're gonna talk about later.
So I'd say Nipsey. He was my goal actually. If I was to ever blow up and I had that opportunity, I would have reached out to him.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the music he makes is like similar to the music I'd like to make, or I do make.
Right.
And in terms of a hook, man, that's hard, yo. I think
there's a lot.
Yeah, there's so many. And I'm even thinking of like Filipino artists too, yo, because we got some good singers back home.
Yes, we do.
But if I had to pick one, I think I might go with J. Cole, yo.
J. Cole. Interesting.
Because again, like he makes good verses. He's dope on all his verses, but like some of his hooks, man, are very different, and they cross the line between singing and rap.
Yeah.
And at the same time, some of the songs he's put out, it's like it can be in between like the bravado rap and then the personal, more like introspective rap.
Right.
So just combining, like I've already heard Kendrick and J. Cole on the same song.
Yeah.
And they're pretty good, but I've never heard what's it called? Nip and J. Cole in one track, you know. So that would have been a dream collab for me.
Yeah, so like you were talking about GLOC-9 earlier, like
mga pare namang gumin kahit na maraming harapin gaano man kalayo kayang marating.
Talking about GLOC-9 earlier, like how did that record come about? And who reached out to who? Like that's crazy. When I found out that you guys have collaborated, I was like, it's over. I was like, damn,
I was surprised too, yo. Because that was not me who put that together.
Yeah.
I gotta give credit to Biggs, yo, to Barkley.
Shout out to Biggs.
So what was pretty cool was even way back in the days, bro, like 4 or 5 years ago when we started performing and opening up for artists back home, because they were like what's called bands would come here, Parokya, GLOC-9, Abra, all these artists would come here to perform. And we started having connections with the producers, the organizers. And at that time, it's like we were one of the more known rap groups, right? So anytime you bring a Filipino rapper from Philippines here to headline a show, they started looking for rap acts, and we were able to perform or open up at least once or twice, and we did a good job. So thankfully for these guys, they saw like the hard work we put in, and then we started getting asked to do more and more opening. And we actually opened up for GLOC-9 multiple times. Way back, like 4 or 5 years ago. But at that time, it's like we didn't really have the opportunity to talk to GLOC-9 or to reach out to him, right? Like, for example, when Looney came here, his security wasn't as bad. Like, he actually came out to hang out with us, right? And Biggs is like was a friend of his from way back. Then since Cebu, yeah.
Okay.
And then Abra, when he came here, again his security wasn't too bad, and they actually knew us because at that time our song Paria Islam came out, and apparently like rappers back home were listening to it because they've never heard Canadian Filipino rappers, right? And so when we introduced ourselves, they're like, oh yeah, Southeast Cartel, blah blah, we know you guys. And we ended up actually taking Abra out. We brought him around Toronto for a little bit, and he was almost late for his flight because we had to ask people, man. We had to weave in and out of traffic just to get him to the airport, bro. We were probably hitting like 150, 160.
That's crazy.
Because we had like half an hour to get him there from downtown Toronto.
To Pearson.
Yeah, and then with GLOC, when we first opened up for him, man, like he has a lot of people around him, right? At that time, and it's not like you can just enter his dressing room because usually in the backstage, all the acts usually have, if we're lucky, have our own dressing room, which is a little small, and then the headliners have like big dressing rooms where they have like security in front, so you can't really reach out and introduce yourself, right? And then about a year and a half ago, GLOC-9 started using Facebook more, and he started adding people like artists. And I think he knew of us from before too. Like again, like some of our songs were actually making it back home, and maybe he recognized us as people that opened up for him. So I remember, I think the first person he added was Biggs, right? And Biggs was like, yo, I think this is GLOC-9. And I was like, where? And we're like, I'm like, yo, shit, that is, that's him.
Jeez.
Right? That's his, and it's not his GLOC-9 Facebook account, it's his personal account.
Okay,
right? Because like if it was Facebook, that's a different thing. But if you're adding someone on your personal,
that's something else. Yeah.
That's saying something,
actually,
right?
Yeah, recognize you. Yeah.
And I think, and then he slowly started adding the rest of us. And I remember Biggs ended up asking him because it was Biggs' birthday, and GLOC-9 messaged him on Facebook like "Happy birthday, blah blah." So Biggs is like, "Oh yeah, thank you, this," and I remember after he said that, he replied, he messaged us on and we have a group chat, right? He's like, yo, I think I should ask GLOC-9 if he wants to work on a song, right? He's like, you don't know unless you ask, right? So he's like, oh well, you know what? Before you ask him, like he's like, oh maybe not before a song. Let's see if he wants to be part of the music video, because he was coming here for another show, right? And we're like, okay, let's take baby steps. So we asked him, what's it called? Would you mind like being part of our music video?
Which is what
the one before that. So Blessings, right?
Yeah.
What a life, what a life, yeah. What a life, what a life, what a life, what a life, yeah. That's how I live my life. Go ahead and live your life.
And he was like, yeah. He's like, he's down, right? So I guess like he's seen what we've done, and I think with GLOC, he'll support you if you notice that you're passionate about what you're doing and you're putting in work. So we were opening up for him that time too, and when he finally got there, we were actually able to meet him in person, talk to him. Again, he has like people around him, like you can't just come up to him, right? Even when he comes out of his dressing room, you have like 2 or 3 security, right, making sure everybody comes out of the way. But with us, he was like, oh no, he's telling the security, he's like, oh, it's okay, let them pass. So we're just kicking with him backstage, and we asked him, can we shoot it in your dressing room, because the backstage is too cramped, right? And there's a lot of equipment and dancers and all that going back and forth. So he took us to his dressing room. It's freaking huge too.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I'll be right back, because he just finished performing, right? So he's like, I just go change first. So he went to get changed, and we were probably chilling there. And I remember we had like a group of people with us, maybe about like 20, because it was SEC, and we're the rest of the rap community wanted to be part of the music video too, right? So we're like, yeah, come on. And GLOC-9 was okay with it. So he was gone for maybe 10 minutes. Around 8 minutes, security came in and they're like, "What are you guys doing here?" I'm like, "Oh, we're with GLOC." He's like, "No, there's too many of you. You tried kicking us out of the dressing room, yo." I guess he's just doing his job, right?
Right. It's the security.
Yeah. Plus, it's like friggin' 20
there's
friggin' people that look like us, yo. We're literally starting to leave the dressing room, and then GLOC-9 comes back. He's like, no, they're with me. We all come back in again, and we ended up being able to shoot that scene on Blessings. And I remember too, he said he was gonna be there for a couple more days. So we're like, you know what? Let's just ask him if he wants to hang out, all right? And surprisingly, he said yes. So we ended up. I remember too. It was like the day before. Like we asked him because he was leaving like supposedly the next day.
Right.
And then he messaged, I think it was Biggs or someone else from the group, and he's like, "Oh, we actually got our flight delayed because they were supposed to go to New York or something for another show. So they were gonna stay for an extra day." So we're like, "Oh shit! If that's the case, let's go. Let's see if he wants to go for that dinner, right?" And I remember that same day. That's when he confirmed, and we had to find ways to get to Mississauga because he was staying in a hotel in Saga, right? And there's like maybe 15 of us at that point that was in the region. So call like, "You're in work, yo. Find a way to get off early. You're supposed to be working that night. Find a way to call in sick. You're working the next day. Don't worry. You're like, this is like once in a lifetime opportunity."
Right.
So we all go hang out with him, and it was just him, his wife, who's his manager, and like I think two of their friends here in from Toronto. Like they were rolling with some locals, right? And we spent about like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours just kicking it, and he was telling us about like his experiences back home, giving us advice as artists, right? So it's like what we're doing now, it's just basically how we were talking to him while we were eating, right? And I remember after that, like he ended up going. I don't know if he went to New York again. I don't know, something happened with their performance. But after that, I think the week after, we're like, "Yo, let's ask him if he wants to get on a song, yo," because like everything felt good, right? And you built the relationship.
Yeah.
And the thing with asking someone to collaborate or even be part of a project, it's easier when you build a connection already.
You establish the relationship.
Yeah, because like if I never knew him and I would randomly message him, like I probably wouldn't get a response back, right? But with him, it was like he liked us. I guess he did like us because we had a good time with him, and we were able to do a song with him, and he was very professional. A lot of times when you work with other artists, you might have to wait a long time to get something done, or they're gonna make you wait. But he was professional, man, and he ended up giving us that verse, yo.
Jeez.
So, and from there on, we were actually supposed to shoot back home a music video, and that was last year right before COVID hit, because the whole SEC went back home for Ian's wedding, and we're like, "Yo, since we're here, let's do up a show, right?" And since we're doing a show, then let's do up a music video with GLOC, because he lives close enough to Manila, right? And he was down too. He's like, "Yo, just tell me when and what time, and he's gonna reach." I'm like, "That's crazy, yo," because I'm like, I don't know how people back home would react to GLOC. Because here it's like Toronto is pretty chill. Like we see celebrities from time to time. You're not gonna get flocked. You're not gonna get hounded, right? So we managed to get a spot, and like it had to be all like top secret. Because the moment someone, like your cousins or like the people you know from back home hear that you're about to shoot something with like GLOC, they're like, "Yo, can I come? And you're like, you don't want to say no. Yeah, it has to be low key, right? But then unfortunately the whole COVID thing happened, man.
That's sad.
And none of that happened.
Money, cars, and clothes. Man, I want it all. I wanna be number one. I wanna travel around the whole world. I wanna meet different girls.
So our next question, like Southeast Cartel, how did it originate? Or like what's the origin story for it?
Yeah, so Southeast Cartel was created by franchise. And a lot of people don't really know this, but we're actually the second generation of Southeast Cartel, SEC. The first generation was Chai's, and he used to be part of a group called Dos Armados, right? And he had this other artist named Lyrical Abstract.
Okay.
He was dope too, yo. He's dope. And they had another guy named Dagamuffin. Rest in peace, yo, because he passed away shortly after the SEC second generation started. But
Interesting.
they were the first. Yeah, they were the first. And Franchise told me he always wanted to get like some of the most talented people in Toronto and bring them into the group. But at the same time, like, what's it called? His buddy Lyrical Abstract, I think he was studying to be a doctor, so he put hip hop to the side. And then, as I said, what's it called? Our other homie, he passed away. And it was around that time that we ended up meeting Franchise at a rap event called what's it called? Yeah, it's been a while, yo. It's been so long, yo. But it was like an event, and basically it was for I think it was for Seneca or some kind of college. All the Filipinos in the colleges came together and they put a show together to showcase the Filipino talent. So it was like hip hop, dancing, DJing, singing, all that stuff. And while that was going on, we came through as rappers to perform. Franchise came with his group to perform, and it was then we're like, oh, we always knew of each other, but at that time hip hop was very competitive here. So it's like me and you could be rappers, but you could be from Scarborough and I'm from North York. We won't speak because it's too competitive, right? And at that point it's like we're all in the same room and the whole competitiveness was like dying down. So we ended up talking and again building that relationship, right? And then shortly after, Franchise asked me to hop on a song, and I brought him over to our studio, and everything was like friggin' just falling into place. It's like when you meet someone who has the same passion and the same goals,
Just click.
you just click. And then shortly after that, he invited us to join his group Southeast Cartel, and then from there on, it was like, yo, there's this other group here that's dope. Let's ask them if they want to join. There's another solo artist that's dope. Let's ask them to join. And then we kept doing that till you got all the members that we have now, right? So I would say it's more like an amalgamation of Toronto rappers here, Toronto Filipino rappers coming together, and under the friggin' guidance of Chais, man.
So what do you think of the current state of hip hop now in Toronto? Now that it's established, compared back then?
In terms of like Filipino hip hop,
Yes, yeah.
So I would say one thing that the hip hop we had back in the day that we're missing now is there used to be a lot more of us back in the day, rapping, performing. Nowadays it's more of a friendly, healthy competition, whereas back in the days it was kind of toxic, yo, and like people used to get into fights. Just like your rap group doesn't like our rap group, it's like, okay, next time we see you in PND, we're gonna settle it there, so there wasn't a lot of movement back in the days where it's unified. But now presently, the one thing I can say is that regardless of the music like another rapper makes or group makes, we're all trying to unify and go to the same goal, which is to bring up the Filipino community, right? In terms of rap, not just in Toronto but all over Canada. So that I would say that's the biggest difference.
Moved to Toronto in '96. Straight from Batangas I came, unfamiliar with the ways. Yeah, after the years, look at the man I became. Yeah, I used
So like
to come
besides Southeast Cartel, which group or rap artist catches your eye or impresses you locally in Toronto?
So there's a Rest Flow.
Rest Flow. Shout out to Rest Flow.
Ira, yo,
It's dope.
he when I first met him, I didn't take him seriously. I told him this too. I didn't take him seriously because his buddy from New York, Rich, he's the one who messaged me, right? And he's like, yo, I heard you guys have a movement in Toronto. I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, I have a buddy who just moved there in Saga, and he's into hip hop. So he connected me to him, and Rest was already messaging me. He's like, oh yeah, because this was during the time we were doing the battle events. He's like, he's gonna battle, and he's sending me a song that he just did. Right, I'm like, this is okay, but it's like after a while, everybody that's saying that they're gonna be an artist or they're gonna put out music, there's so many of them that after a while you don't really you become kind of used to people saying that and not seeing them follow through. So it was at that time where I'm like, okay, he's just another one of these people, right? So we'll see.
Right.
And then he came, I guess he got inspired by the whole movement, and then shortly after he started putting out like tracks,
Crazy.
videos,
Yeah.
and I ended up helping him with his album. So we ended up recording, mixing, and mastering the whole thing, and you could tell he was dedicated, right?
Yeah.
So to me, like,
He's passionate.
yeah, and to me, I don't really care if you are good from the beginning. What I care more is like, are you willing to put in the time, and not only that, but like, be willing to learn. Because there's a lot of other artists I've worked with where, yeah, they're good, but then you can kind of notice that they're not willing to try new things or like learn new things, right? And not just from the music aspect, but it's like the marketing and the business and stuff. But Rest, he was always open-minded, and he had like a good head on the shoulders. And then the concepts he has for music videos, man, like
Yeah, that vision, eh?
yeah.
I
I what's it called? I even told him he inspired me because some of the songs I've been working on now, it's like it has that similar concept where it's like it's not just like it's not just a direct music video or a direct song. Like
Right.
there's a message behind it.
I see.
So him, I'm rooting for, yo. And then there's what's it called? NPA
NPA, yeah.
and the Real Dreams.
They're dope too.
Yeah, and they've been at it for a while, right? So with them, it's like, again, they have a lot of potential, but it's like I want to see how far they're willing to go past just the music. Because if you really want to succeed, you're gonna have to learn everything past
Business.
just making a song, you know. And then there's what's it called? There's a couple of solo artists too. Shout out to what's it called? Xavier Santo, because they're battling. They've been battling not in the Filipino circuit, yo, but in like the Canadian circuit. So they've been missioning to like I think it was like Hamilton or Ottawa, just to battle people people in the English division, yo. So
Yeah.
them two, man, like again, like they're the ones who instigated that. And I always have a lot of respect for people that don't wait for
Right.
someone to tell them, oh, you should do this, you should do that, or why not do this. Like they went and they got it for themselves, yo. So
Go-getters.
I respect that, man.
I see.
But there's a lot, yo. Again, I'm just waiting to see what they're doing.
Yeah.
And even though I'm stuck at my place, or I don't have a lot of presence online, it's like, no, I keep an eye on the talent and on the artists, yo. So we'll see what they do.
Interesting. Now, moving on. What is your favorite verse that you put out yet, and why?
Yeah, so I used to think about this too, because usually I'm not happy with any songs.
Really?
Right. Like you get this thing where the first month that you put out a song, you're really happy with it,
Right.
and then you give it like a couple more months, and then you're not sure, and then you give it a year, and you're just like, yo, fuck, that was kind of soft. You know? The thing when it comes to content creation, that's how it is, right? You can never be happy with
Right.
what you've done in the past, because you always got to strive to do better.
Right.
But for me, I think, at least to me, the most influential, or at least something that hits me really well when it comes to my verse, is the one I made for Gusto Ko Lahat.
Gusto ko na, yeah.
Because that song wasn't even made to be
Let the music unfurl so I can deliver my words. A mixture of pinky and brain. Every day we aim to take over the world. Jump this beat at
Ko na, yeah.
because that song wasn't even made to be like to boost or anything like that. It was more like trying to share people some of the knowledge that I picked up, you know. And
let the music unfurl so I can deliver my words. A mixture of pinky and brain. Every day we aim to take over the world. Jump this beat at
or the way I delivered it, the lyrics itself and the message is,
Yeah.
you know, at least to me, it's one of my
For
favorites.
you, yeah. Anyways, let's talk hip hop.
Yeah.
First question: can you differentiate hip hop to rap? Because a lot of people, especially nowadays, hip hop is so mainstream, or I would say rap is so mainstream that they couldn't distinguish which one is which. Can you differentiate those two?
Yeah, so hip hop, it's made up of a lot of different components, right? You can either go by like the 5 elements of hip hop, or I think they go by 7 or 8 now. But basically, rap is just one of those components of hip hop, right? It's a big movement, and you have like DJs, dancers, rappers, and I think they even have like street knowledge,
Right.
fashion, they're all part of it, right?
Yeah.
So when people say hip hop or you're a hip hop artist, you have to kind of be careful, because a hip hop artist means you kind of cover many, or if not all the factors, right? All the elements. But rap is just one small portion of that.
Right.
The only thing is that rap has become so mainstream, like you said, that
Exactly.
people automatically assume that rap is hip hop and hip hop is rap. But in reality, no, rap is part of hip hop,
Right.
and hip hop is bigger than rap.
Let's say, put it this way. Let me think.
All rap is hip hop, but not all hip hop
There you
is
go.
rap.
DJ Khaled is hip hop, but he's not a rapper. Miley Cyrus can rap, but he's not part of the hip hop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And the thing too is, like, you can even go deeper and, like, is rap just music, or is rap also part of the culture? Because then if you have like let's say you have a country singer and they started rapping, or they're
Right.
automatically a rapper, are they part of the rap scene? You know, or do they have to actually be part of that culture and make
It's
music?
kind of hard to put a boundary line, because music is music. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, rap is part of like this culture of what we call hip hop.
Yeah, and like I think one of the biggest examples right now is, remember, I don't know if you know the blogger like Mimia,
Yeah.
right? She has that song "Drink Your Water," Be, right? And it's like, and I had nothing against it, right? The people that I was annoyed with wasn't even her or her. I guess I don't know what kind of pronoun she uses, but her camp. But it was the media, because I was seeing them post stuff like saying like, "Oh, Mimia is a rapper now," or like the next biggest rapper is a vlogger. I'm like, no, you don't know what being a rapper means, right? Like, again, is rapper just if you rap, or is a rapper mean you're immersed in the culture and you make the music, right? Because to me, it's like, if you're saying she's a rapper, that means does she fit all that criteria? You know, and that's where I was kind of just a little I felt the way about it, because it's like, just because you rap doesn't mean you're a rapper. Yes, she did make a rap song and she did rap, but it kind of like looks down on other people that have been putting time in the craft. And that's nothing against Mimia, because I'm pretty sure, like, if you ask, like, she's not gonna put herself as a rapper, right? She just made a rap song.
Right.
But in terms of anybody rapping, like, I have nothing against that. And if it's something they love, then why not, yo? Like, if you like rap and you want to try rapping, like, I have nothing against that. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody should be doing what they love, or at least try what they love. And as long as you have respect and understand where your position is, then go for it, yo. But again, that's just my opinion.
Right.
Thinker, wonder, beat.
Do you think that rappers are overrated?
I think, man, it's like, it's the body of work first and foremost has to speak for the artist, man. Like, like, much respect to Pop Smoke, because he was coming up with a new wave, new sound,
Right.
but he just released one album,
Exactly.
right? I think that if he was alive and he's like, and he sees that situation where it's like, I only have one album out, am I one of the GOATs or something, or am I really that big? I don't think he's gonna say he is, you know, because one project can't dictate your whole career. And most of the time when you say GOAT, it's like you have to look at not one element of their career. You gotta look at the whole career. And the only difference I'd say with like Tupac and Biggie was like, especially Tupac, it's like he was putting out so much projects.
There you go.
Right?
But
And
with Biggie though, like I was saying, he put up like 2-3 albums, solid albums, and then after that, it's like, now what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get my point though, right? With Tupac, it's unquestionable.
Yeah, he put in
A lot of work.
And again, it's like, you gotta ask the person, because like, to you, like 2 or 3 albums does not mean it's a lot of work, you know what I'm saying? But to somebody else, like 2 or 3 albums is already a lot
The impact.
to justify that
Right.
that Biggie's a GOAT, right? And then you look at the impact they have on the generation.
Right.
Whereas like that, I feel like Biggie fits that category of like the impact he had on people.
Right.
Even Pop. I think XXX and Pop Smoke was close to that too. Like, they were affecting the next generation of music. But then it's like they died so young, and they were just at like the beginning of their career, that it's hard to see to what extent they could have developed that.
Right.
So to me, it's like body of work and influence. And again, much respect to Pop and XXX and even Juice WRLD, because Juice WRLD was bringing in that new sound too. But it's like, I can't personally say they're like one of the greatest of all time, you know, that passed away. But they're definitely were one of the pioneers in their genre, you know?
Right.
And that's just for me. So when I speak of them, it's like I'm not saying they're overrated. At the same time, I'm not saying they're underrated,
Right.
because I'm basing them off of like what I heard and their effect. But I do agree though that the reason why a lot of dead artists are seen as overrated, and it's not even the artist's fault. It's like the record
How
label.
we react.
Oh, not even, yo. It's like it's the record label. Because I don't know if you knew this, but the moment someone dies, the value of a lot of their work starts going up. Because it's like you're never gonna hear it anymore, right? So if you only had one pen in the whole world versus a million pens in the whole world, that one pen is gonna be worth more.
Yeah.
So when Pac died and all these other people died, these labels, they still need to recoup the money. So now they're gonna be like, okay, greatest hits, this, and people are gonna want it because it's like this is the last work we're gonna ever hear from even Pop Smoke's album. That's the only album you're ever gonna hear from him, and the labels want the money, so they're gonna kind of boost their name, trying to get them more out there. And then again, it's all a marketing strategy, yo. So to me, it's more in terms of like the business side is what's really pushing them past and making them overrated.
Good thing you brought that up, because like I think Tupac had like 10 albums after the death. You know,
Yeah, and there were still, I saw, I think a few of them went gold or platinum.
yeah, it was crazy.
Right? And it's like that probably fed Death Row Records for like many years.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, yes. Next question. Do you think would hip hop be ever ready to embrace LGBT community?
I think just like a lot of different groups of people, you know, like being able to embrace something new or different takes time.
Right.
And there already been a lot of LGBTQ influence, or at least they're part of the culture already in the past. You're like, if you look at Atlanta, yo, I remember I was watching that thing from Netflix, that Hiphop. They had like a documentary, right? And in Atlanta, like the LGBTQ was already part of like the hip hop scene.
Really?
Or like at least they were part of that scene that created that Atlanta sound.
I didn't know that.
I could be wrong, but that's what I took from the
I'll
from
look
the
into
documentary.
Yeah.
But there's already been a lot of LGBTQ rappers, yo, like Lil Ma, right? What's it called? She's blowing up right now. She's what's it called? She's lesbian, right? And she likes girls. And the crazy thing with her music is like she's not afraid to say that on her music, you know, which is like a lot of people might not want to hear that, but like the way guys talk about girls on a lot of like the what's it called, on a lot of the like sexual tracks is the way she talks about girls on her tracks, you know. And there's a lot more, but it's just that they're not mainstream enough for everybody to
I see. Yeah,
cater to them. But with the way everything is going, bro, like it might not be next year, it may not be a couple years from now, but in
Eventually.
the future, definitely, if the whole rest of the community is able to accept people for their differences, at some point they're gonna be accepted too, you know.
Yeah.
And that I'm pretty confident.
Jeez, it's a lot of hip hop talk. Last question for hip hop. What do you say to people who thinks hip hop has a negative impact on our society? Let's say rap. It's homophobic, or it glorifies violence, or it degrades women. Like, how do you respond to that?
They're right though.
Okay.
To a certain extent, they're right. Music is always gonna be influential to people, yo. Alright, like I'm pretty sure, like this generation, when it comes to their point of views about certain things, were influenced by what they listened to, you know, growing up. Does that mean that that rappers or people in the rap industry is bad? No, it's just that a lot of them are talking about how they grew up in.
Right.
You know, if you grew up in a space where abuse and violence is normal, when you make music, what are you going to be talking about? And I think what it is like a lot of the generation that didn't live through that heard the music, and then wanted to be that. I think that's where the problem is. Because, for example, like if you grew out of hardship and poverty, right, and you had to steal all the stuff, when you hear a song about it, you're not saying, "Oh, I want to be that," because it's like you know what it's like. You know what it's like not to eat. You know what it's like to have to go steal.
Right.
So you can just listen to that and relate to the hardship. But to somebody who lives in a nice house, who's not in that poverty line or doesn't have to do all that bad stuff, to them it's like it's something cool to do. And I think that's where the problem is. It's like just because I'm talking about my reality, you're getting caught up in what I'm saying and assuming like that's really what I'm trying to make you do or make you see. So is it the fault of rappers? Yeah, to some point, because now that let's say I'm a rapper now, I can have the choice to speak about negative stuff or positive stuff, right? And me knowing how powerful music is now, like how am I gonna reach out and spread my message? Then again, there's some rappers who they don't know how to speak about anything else because that's their life. They grew up in it. And again, it's like it's always in between. There is negativity in it, most definitely, but at the same time, it's like every human being, we have the potential to do some great things, and we have the potential to do negative things. But at the end of the day, we have that choice to make. And in hip hop, I don't think there's anything different with that.
Jeez.
So
Topic.
it depends on you as a rapper and you as a listener. You gotta be responsible.
Exactly, right. Both ways. So that's about it. I asked you a lot of questions. Last question though. After COVID, what's the next move for like for you guys as a group?
I don't know how much I can let out.
Okay.
But basically, our main goals have always been trying to unify the community in Canada, not just Toronto. Toronto, I would say, is kind of like our base because we're all here, right? It's easier to to help organize things when you're there. But ultimately, we're trying to help push the movement of Philcan rap, Philcan music.
Right.
And one of our goals is to actually be able to get people worldwide to recognize,
Canadian,
and hear that we have music here too. Because a lot of the time, people back home they're always saying like, "Oh, for you to blow up or for you to get recognized, you have to go back home to Philippines. You have to fit into like the Filipino masses." Even when I make music, everyone's like, "Oh, you gotta start writing in Tagalog or something because you want to reach the Filipino masses." But it's like, no, we're outside of Philippines. Like we're still Filipino, but our influence is spread. Our mentality has spread, right? And so if we're gonna be making music, why should we sound like them? Let's sound like us, and let's make music that you can relate to because you lived here too, or you lived overseas, right? So that's one of the main goals, And this is not even just SEC, but all of us, So I think that's the biggest thing. And then obviously with SEC, it's always trying to get better, trying to put out more content, and trying to succeed, right? Life has game-like qualities, as Kevin Hart put it.
Right.
So if you're not trying to be better, you're not really living your life.
Smoke to reach your goals, we cutting throats. Each member worth 100 goats. Hard to go, but the blood is cold. With us, bro, you already know. All the homies putting work. We only deep in the trenches. Through the weather, dust and dirt. We go to war in the trenches.
Alright guys, that is the content. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And I'm with my boy Raygee, and that was the interview, guys.
What's up, man? This is Raygee of Southeast Cartel, and y'all tuned into the Rolly Show, Don't stop now.
Man, I got the keys. Whatever gon' matter to these other rappers don't matter to me. All the homies putting work. We only deep in the trenches. My homie Chai said, "Get it, bro," so you know we gon' get it.
Laki ako sa hirap, di laki sa layaw. Maaga na tikman ng tama, pumuko sa mata, malinggaw.